Hey, I'm back. I finally was able to get back into my YouTube account. I got shut out because my email got messed up. So this is beginning of September 2024. I'm out in the garden. You see I've got some comfrey plants here. Those are going to get dug and divided for starts. They're going to go down there, but it's too dry for that right now, so they'll be here still. There'll still be plants here after I do that because these will come back. The least little bit of root left behind, it'll grow back. You can see the leeks over here. These are empty bags that I pick up manure from a place where some folks have their horses. They needed somebody to haul the manure, so I get their manure, and usually I get it on the trailer, but between when I pick the trailer up and when I bring the trailer back, they bag it. So I save up all the bags and stash them for reuse. And you see the leeks here. This is the bed that I did a while ago. It's settling in. You can see the soil level there at the base, and the manure is in there down the middle underneath the leaves there. You can see I hilled up the back row on this bed as well some. You can see the front row on that bed looks really nice. They're coming along well. These beds have not been watered at all this entire season. It's been entirely rain fed. I'm actually going to give them their first irrigation of the season, and that's actually less about these. Of course it'll give them a boost having a little extra water, but it's actually about keeping the water moving down through the soil profile. See, there's a volunteer tomato over there, but moving down through the soil profile, making sure these lower beds, you can see the kale that I finished weeding. This bed here doesn't actually have anything in it. This one, from there over to that tree, and then this bed up here over to here where the comfrey is. These are empty. I'm getting the weeds cleaned out of them, getting ready to lay down more compost and mulch and put cover crops in. Same thing on the lower sections down there. You see all the real tall stuff. I'm going to leave the touch-me-nots still just like usual as much as I can, and just clean up the beds from all the other stuff. And anyway, so yeah, what I'm on today is cleaning up the beds, weeding, getting mulch and compost and manure spread for the fall bed treatments, and doing a lot of thinking about how we do our fertility maintenance and what we can do on the farm, because in the long run I don't want to be bringing in a bunch of materials from somewhere else. I don't mind bringing stuff from from these folks. It's good fertility, it's good both. It's got a lot of general soil nutrients, a lot of carbon because it's sawdust heavy, so it's used as a mulch more than as a compost directly. It's allowed to sit on the top and not worked into the soil, so it doesn't lock up nitrogen in the soil. But it works really well. That's what I put down as the primary mulch compost for the kale plants down here. You can see they're recovering now from a long bout of cabbage looper moths. They've shed off most of their outer leaves that were torn up, and they're making a good recovery from the center. But anyway, just wanted to kind of show a little bit how this works, what I do, and talk a little bit about how a lot of folks that talk about farming, talk about simplifying their lives, talk about being resilient. There's still not, a lot of them aren't closing the loops on their projects very well. You got a lot of people who are not really talking about where the fertility of their soil comes from. Some of them are a lot better than others. The market garden people are a lot better about that than a lot of the regenerative agriculture people. A lot of those guys, like, there's some really good ones, and there's a whole lot of them that they just don't give a very good accounting of how things actually work to make their farms function, and really consider how much of their materials are coming out of other people's farms. So and it's like in organics. In organics, you've got a lot of nutrient laundering, which is what I'm talking about with this manure that I bring in from the horse barn. That's nutrient laundering. That's their feed wasn't, grown with fertility that was generated from natural cycles. It's, it's most livestock feed. It's grown from, using synthetic fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides and all the rest of it. But it's still slightly better than commercial organics. Because in commercial organics, a lot of that compost that's being used is generated from biosolids, which is the solid material from sewage treatment. And the pathogen issue is not really a problem. It's thoroughly treated for that, but there's medications that don't break down, there's plasticizers, there's chemicals from cleaning products, there's PFAS, forever chemicals, from industrial sources, from household sources, like things like if you overheat a Teflon pan, it gives off some of those class of chemicals, the fluorinated compounds, and that all goes into the septic, and it all goes eventually into those solids and goes into the compost, and it doesn't break down because it's forever chemicals. They don't break down. That's kind of their thing. And they're toxic. There's no accepted safe level of PFAS for humans. It's just toxic, period. So that stuff is going into the compost that goes on to commercial organics. So one of the things I'm trying to do here is I'm working around to where we don't have to use any of that, where we can generate our fertility on the farm, and if we bring anything in, maybe it's some forestry products like wood chips, sawdust, that kind of thing, and occasionally we might have to bring in some phosphorus, because that's one of the things that you can't generate phosphorus from the air. It has to come from the soil. It's got to come from marine products. You can get it from marine products. You can Most of the phosphorus currently used in agriculture comes from rock phosphate ultimately. And a lot of it's recycled because it runs, you know, the bone meal from, you grow the livestock feed, and then the livestock feed gets fed to the animals, and the animals grow, and the phosphorus mostly goes mostly into their bones, and then the bones are salvaged and run through, some of it's run to bone meal, which is just what it sounds like. It's cleaned, cooked, and ground bones, and it's a high phosphorus, calcium, mild nitrogen fertilizer that's used a lot. Used to be used more, still used quite a bit. If you want to avoid that sort of thing, if you want to avoid the rock phosphate, if you want to avoid the the bone meal, which I don't want to be bringing things in if I can help it, you have to have some source, where it's being drawn from the soil somewhere, and it has to be a source that replenishes. So that means you have to have a lot of area that's dedicated to fertility. That's why, I leave things like, I leave small trees, and even in the garden beds here, I leave small trees here and there. They get coppiced back for animal feed and for mulch and whatnot. But to get all your fertility from the